Picture this. It's the early 1900s. The world is on the brink of monumental change, and Europe is the epicenter of it all. Europe is like a big party where everyone is secretly angry at each other. The air is thick with tension, and every nation is on edge, watching their neighbors closely. They're all showing off their muscles, building up their armies and navies like a bunch of peacocks puffing out their chests. Military parades are frequent, and the streets echo with the sound of marching boots. Germany's feeling powerful and wants more respect. Under Kaiser Wilhelm II, Germany is flexing its industrial and military might, eager to assert its dominance on the world stage. France is still sore about losing a fight with Germany before and wants revenge. The memory of the Franco-Prussian War lingers, and the French are determined to reclaim their lost glory. Britain's trying to play it cool but is secretly worried about Germany's growing strength. The British Empire, with its vast colonies, is keenly aware of the shifting balance of power and is taking measures to protect its interests. Then there's the Austro-Hungarian Empire, a big, messy empire with lots of different cultures all crammed together. It's a melting pot of ethnicities, each with its own aspirations and grievances, making it a hotbed of internal strife. And let's not forget the Ottoman Empire, known as the sick man of Europe, struggling to hold on to its crumbling power. The once mighty empire is now a shadow of its former self, desperately trying to stave off decline. Everyone's suspicious, forming secret alliances, and making promises to back each other up if a fight breaks out. These alliances are like a complex web, binding nations together in a fragile peace. It's like a bunch of friends who promise to help each other in a bar fight, but nobody really wants to be the first one to throw a punch. The tension is palpable, and everyone is waiting for someone else to make the first move. But as we all know, sometimes all it takes is one tiny spark to ignite a powder keg. The world is a tinderbox, and the smallest incident could set off a chain reaction that changes everything. Enter Archduke Franz Ferdinand, heir to the Austro-Hungarian throne. Not the sharpest tool in the shed, he decides to visit Sarajevo, a city with a lot of angry Serbs who want independence. Talk about bad timing. On June 28, 1914, Ferdinand and his wife are riding through Sarajevo in their open car, waving to the crowds. Suddenly, a young Serbian nationalist named Gavrilo Princip pops out of the crowd and shoots them both dead. The world is shocked. It's like someone just threw that first punch in the bar and now everyone's scrambling to get involved. Austria-Hungary is furious and blames Serbia for the assassination. They issue an ultimatum, a list of demands so harsh that Serbia can't possibly agree to them. This was exactly what they wanted, a reason to declare war. Serbia turns to its ally, Russia, for help. Russia, feeling protective of its little Slavic brother, starts mobilizing its army. Germany, allied with Austria-Hungary, sees this as a threat and declares war on Russia. Then Germany declares war on France because, well, they're buddies with Russia. And to get to France, Germany decides to go through Belgium, a neutral country that's like, hey guys, we're just trying to stay out of this. This makes Britain angry because they promised to protect Belgium. So, Britain declares war on Germany, and just like that, the whole tangled web of alliances explodes, and Europe is plunged into the biggest war the world has ever seen. Both sides thought this war would be over in a few weeks. The optimism was palpable, with young men eagerly signing up, believing they would be home by Christmas. They imagined dashing cavalry charges and glorious victories. Boy, were they wrong. The reality of war was far from the romanticized visions they had. Instead of quick victories, they got bogged down in a new kind of warfare, trench warfare. This was a brutal, grueling form of combat that no one had anticipated. Imagine miles and miles of muddy ditches crawling with rats, lice, and the constant threat of enemy fire. The trenches were a living nightmare, with soldiers enduring unimaginable hardships. Soldiers on both sides huddled in these trenches, facing each other across a desolate stretch of land called no man's land. This barren expanse was littered with barbed wire and the remnants of failed attacks. It was a miserable existence, full of mud, disease, and the ever-present fear of death. Attacks were often suicidal. The conditions were so dire that many soldiers suffered from trench foot, a painful condition caused by prolonged exposure to damp and unsanitary conditions. Men would climb out of their trenches and charge across no man's land, only to be mowed down by machine guns. The bravery and sacrifice of these soldiers were met with devastating losses. The fighting raged on for years, with neither side gaining much ground. The war became a grueling test of endurance, with both sides locked in a deadly stalemate. It was a stalemate, a deadly game of tug-of-war with hundreds of thousands of lives lost for just a few yards of mud. The cost of this prolonged conflict was immense, leaving a lasting impact on all who endured it. Section 5. Deadly Innovations. New Weapons Change Warfare Forever. World War I was a horrifying display of new technologies designed to kill more efficiently. Machine guns could mow down waves of soldiers in seconds. Artillery guns lobbed explosive shells from miles away, turning the battlefield into a cratered wasteland. Poison gas, a new and terrifying weapon, was used to deadly effect, choking and blinding soldiers in the trenches. Tanks, lumbering beasts of steel, were introduced to break the stalemate, but their early versions were often unreliable. And let's not forget about airplanes. What started as flimsy observation devices quickly turned into weapons of war, dropping bombs and engaging in dogfights in the skies above the trenches. These new technologies made World War I one of the deadliest conflicts in human history, a grim foreshadowing of the horrors to come. Section 6. America jumps in, shifting the tides of war. For the first few years, America stayed out of the European brawl, but then a few things happened that pulled them in. First, there was the sinking of the Lusitania, a British passenger ship, by a German U-boat. Many Americans were on board, and the incident outraged public opinion. Then, there was the Zimmermann telegram, a secret message from Germany to Mexico, proposing an alliance against the United States. Talk about a bad move. These events, along with Germany's continued use of unrestricted submarine warfare, pushed President Woodrow Wilson to declare war on Germany in 1917. The arrival of fresh American troops and resources gave the Allies a much-needed boost. Section 7. The end of the war to end all wars? By 1918, after 4 long years of fighting, everyone was exhausted and demoralized. Millions lay dead, and the economies of Europe were in ruins. Germany, facing relentless attacks from the Allies and crumbling from within, was finally forced to surrender. On November 11, 1918, an armistice was signed, bringing the fighting to an end. There was a huge sense of relief, but also a deep sense of loss. The world had changed forever. This wasn't just a victory, it was a shared tragedy that left millions dead and entire nations scarred. Section 8. A Changed World. Scars of the Great War. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, officially ended the war but also sowed the seeds for future conflicts. The terms were harsh and punitive, aimed at crippling Germany's ability to wage war again. However, these measures did not bring lasting peace. Germany was blamed for the war and slapped with harsh penalties, including massive reparations payments and territorial losses. The economic strain and national humiliation were profound, leading to widespread poverty and social unrest. This left a bitter taste in the mouths of many Germans, a resentment that would fester in the years to come. The sense of injustice and betrayal became fertile ground for extremist ideologies to take root. World War I also redrew the map of Europe. The collapse of empires and the creation of new nations led to a complex and often unstable political landscape. The Austro-Hungarian and Ottoman empires, once mighty, were broken up into smaller nations. This fragmentation created new tensions and rivalries, as ethnic groups sought self-determination and territorial claims. New ideologies emerged, like communism in Russia, fueled by the war's chaos and social upheaval. The Russian Revolution of 1917 led to the rise of the Soviet Union, a major player in global politics for much of the 20th century. The war also had a profound impact on technology, society, and culture. Innovations in warfare, medicine, and industry accelerated, while the social fabric of many nations was forever altered. It accelerated technological advancements but also left a legacy of violence, trauma, and disillusionment. Soldiers returned home with physical and psychological scars, struggling to reintegrate into civilian life. World War I was supposed to be the war to end all wars. The armistice brought relief and celebration, but the underlying issues remained unresolved. Tragically, it was just the beginning of a century marked by even greater conflict and global upheaval. The unresolved tensions and new geopolitical realities set the stage for World War II and numerous other conflicts that would shape the modern world.